So we have the 4520 in the shop. Needs a little bit of work. I'm gonna check the fluids on it and make sure that everything's good. The main problem with it is not charging the battery. I put a new alternator on it because it's never been changed. Well, not never, but it's been a very, very long time since it's been changed. So I figured that was the problem. Well, it's still not charging for some reason. So I got to figure out why. It's very, very simple to diagnose because there's not that many wires on it, but it's still going to take a little time. I have the shifter box up there around the steering wheel off because there's a linkage that came apart, so I got to fix that real quick, which is just basically a bolt that needs to be put back again, I think. But other than that, we got some work for this tractor, so we need it to run pretty well and make sure it's reliable. So yeah, let's get back to work. A while back, the shifter in here, something broke, and my dad put a little shift knob right here. This goes forward and back. So this used to, but now this does. This just shifts your gears. Down inside here is where a bolt came out, and I just got to grab the bolt, put a new bolt in it, and kind of tinker with it because it seems to be slightly out of alignment. But then I can put the cover back on, and yeah. So we got the side cover off on the console, I guess you could say it. We're trying to find out why we don't have any connection going from there to the alternator, because your key, when you turn the key on, should send power to the alternator. And there's also another wire that goes from the alternator to your light that tells your light that it's not charging. So the light's not even showing up. So for some reason, it's just not energizing the alternator, and so we're trying to diagnose it, which means we're gonna start pulling apart the wiring harness like he's doing and figure out, is there something broke? Mice didn't get in it, that part at least, but yeah. It's the ghost of the system, trying to figure out why. It's gremlins, but we'll get it figured out. It's a simple system, and just gotta figure it out. I found it. It was a little hidden. I was looking around the wiring, and there's a little pigtail back here that was slightly not connected. It was zip tied out of the way, but I started looking at it, I was like, that doesn't look like it's connected. It finally worked itself apart, and we started up and we got voltage. All that messing around, that probably took like half hour to 40 minutes trying to figure it out, so figured it out. Okay, let's put it back together. That's fun. But it's gonna charge, that's all that matters. And we didn't need to buy a new alternator. Huh. Oh, it's got a new alternator now, so that's good. What do you have to say for yourself?
Me? Sometimes when you figure out wiring and you get it right, you like it when it's revolting. I get a charge out of it.
There it is right there. That came apart. And it was just barely, it was like that. So let's put it together and make sure it doesn't come apart. Yeah, it was a little thirsty on hydraulic oil, but everything seems to be good enough right now. It's gonna charge a battery and it runs good. Fluids are good. So I guess we can use it to start moving some grain. Okay, let's pull it out of the shop. So if you guys are wondering what's happening with those pea cleanings that we got from all those peas, like the oats and trash and cracked peas, well, we got a truck here and we're filling them right now, and he's gonna take it down to a feedlot. And then they're gonna use that, grind it up a little bit, and feed it to their cows or horses or whatever they got. I don't know what kind of animal they have, but it's good protein and it's good food. They love the oats, they love the peas, and honestly, this is fantastic stuff for them. So win-win. We get to sell it, make a little money on it, and it gets to feed a lot of cows. It's a beautiful day. The ground's getting pretty firm. There's still some soft spots, but I grabbed the 7140 because around the Quonset with all of our bins, we kind of tore the ground up pretty good with the trucks moving peas. So I'm raking, well, blading, I guess you could say. I've got the box frame blader on the 7140, and we're gonna just clean this all up, all these ruts, and that way when it dries and hardens, it won't be so rough and busy or bumpy. Not busy, well, it's gonna be busy, bumpy. But anyways, yeah, let's get this done. One more thing to check off the list. 9370's in the shop. There's a reason for it. The front wheel seal's got a leak on it, so I gotta figure out why it's leaking. It could just be a bad seal, or maybe the bearings are starting to go out. So I just need to take a look at that. I'll take the wheel off, and then there's a few miscellaneous things on the truck that need to be tightened and adjust, and I think it just needs to be, well, a little love, so we'll get to it. Yeah, make things happen. I'd say it's about time for me to start finishing those racks for my cold rolled steel for the lathe. So I found some 1.5 inch angle iron, and I think it'll work out pretty good. So I will chop that sucker right there, a whole piece, and start making some racks. Basically done. Just need to grab expanded metal, put it on the top and the bottom right there, and tack that all in. Now I don't think I'll paint it just yet. I think I'll just put all the cold rolled back on it, and if I choose to weld more stuff onto this frame or change something up, I can do that. And if I like how it is, then I'll pull everything off and paint the frame. But I feel like I'm gonna keep adding to this whole setup, like the little hangers and stuff, and so maybe not, we'll see. But let's go grab some expanded metal and cut little pieces out, put them in there and get that done. That'll work. All right, okay, there we go. Hit something. Things to do for you guys. There we go. Now let me go over and measure, figure out what I need to cut off, and then I can take the plasma cutter, and snip it all across. Now let's go find out if I measured this correctly. Hopefully I didn't screw up, because that happens a lot with me. But you know what? It's steel. It can be welded back together and ground back down, and you guys will know. But okay, I gotta put this down and see if it fits. Bomb diggity! Fits really, really well. It was like it was made for it. Let's tack that together, and then I can throw all that cold roll onto this. Now the question is, do I have the top rack as the cold rolled steel or the aluminum rolled? What is it, aluminum rolled? Aluminum round stock. And, or do I have it the other way around? I have to think about that for a little bit. Hey, Quickie! Come here boy. Where you at? There you are, come on over. That's a good boy, Quickie. Such a good boy. He knows how to treat his employer. I think he's employed. Are you getting paid? If he's not, don't tell him. Anyways, let's think. There we have it. It ain't pretty, but it serves a purpose. I think it'll be nice this way, because then that way, if I want to measure and see what length I need, or just kind of visually, I don't have to pull it from the wall of all the stacks and everything falling down like it used to. I can just slide it off the rack right here. And I think that'll work out pretty well. Pipes and stuff on the bottom rack, I'm just kind of scattering it. I'll figure out how I want to sort it, but it's a little cleaner. And then that way, I have what I need when I need it. At least hopefully that's the plan. But will I get to take all this stuff out of the shelf and move that hydraulic rack over here, or the shelving? I don't know. Depends on how much time I have. Maybe I'll get at it now, or maybe another time. Okay, all right, let's move to the next thing. Now the 9370, I said it was the passenger. I was wrong, because the passenger looks pretty dry. Muddy, but dry. The driver's side, there's a little bit of oil seeping around on it, and that's the side I need to take off. So let's get a jack. We'll jack up that axle, and then we can take the wheel off and start inspecting it, and yeah, see if we need to change some bearings or just a seal. And hopefully I don't have to do bearings. I mean, it's not a bad thing. I could do it, but I'd rather just do a seal. But you're gonna say, well, you're in there, you might as well do it. Well, if they're good, you don't need to, so. And it's not hard at all to fix the seal for the bearings if you need to in the future, so. Okay, let's go fix it. The drum is pulled off, so now I can inspect the brakes, and it has been leaking. Now here's the issue that I gotta deal with. And it's my own personal preference, and I'm sure a lot of guys would respect my decision in this and probably agree with me. But once you contaminate these brakes with oil, they are very porous, and it'll suck the oil inside. So as you apply your brakes, it'll start throwing the oil on the outside of the drum, and you don't really have good stopping power. You could try cleaning these things with car washer, rinse them off with a lot of heat, and you could use brake cleaner, and you could probably get them pretty clean. But here's the thing, it's so porous in there, to really clean that up, it's gonna be an issue. So for me, I'm just gonna go ahead and get numbers on it. It's probably not gonna be that much, and just replace the brakes. They're good, but they're contaminated and icky and so forth. And I'll just change out the seal as well, and then that way we can put oil back in it, and it'll be good to go. Yeah, just one of those things that happens, so. You gotta fix it, right? You'll live again, 9370. You'll live again. You are loved by many. It's not a good sign when you pull the cap off and it doesn't drain anything into the pan. There's a little bit of oil in there, but not much, so chances are it might have hurt the bearings, but we'll take a look at them, and the Reese's in there, the bearings and Reese's, and hopefully no damage occurred. It felt tight, feels good when it rolls, but a closer inspection might tell otherwise. So here's something I've never seen before. I'm sure a lot of other guys have seen it in truck shops because they do this a lot, but the seal itself is completely off the whole hub assembly. I didn't even have to pry it off, didn't have to take it off. The rubber itself is all chewed up and it just popped off. So that's why it wasn't sealing very well. The bearings, I won't know about the bearings until I actually clean them up in the solvent to look at them. But I think it's time to clean it all up and really inspect. Put some gloves on because I decided not to wash my hands 24/7. Okay, let's use a solvent. Move this out of the way a little bit so I can get in there because we have a very organized shop. And clean this up. It's all washed up. And inspecting it, what I look for is flat spots on the roller bearings, anything that looks chewed up, wore, that doesn't look new. And what you really can tell, it's probably not on the rollers and the bearing, but what you really can tell is the reese inside here, the wire the rollers run on. You'll see like almost like washboards or like gouge marks or like rough spots. And if you take your finger and run around there with your fingernail, if you feel those little high spots or stuff, you don't want that. Honestly, we caught it just in time because there is just a nice smooth surface all the way around. Both sides look good, bearings look good. Bomb diggity. I mean, that's pretty sweet that we don't have to replace bearings and races and all that fun stuff. But this sucker, the seal, I got numbers on the back. That the best thing about this, the whole situation right now, is when you're trying to get these seals out, you know what happens is you bang on the spot where the numbers are and you get it out and you're like, okay, let's clean it up and look where the numbers. And you just jacked up all the numbers. That has never happened to me, ever. And I'm sure nobody can relate to that. But since it just came out, the numbers are perfectly fine. And that means I can call in and see if we can locate one. So you need to take the brake pads off and get some brake pads and the seal. And then put it back together. There we go, there's one. So we need to figure out a way to take those bags that we cut open and pulled all the grain out of it. We also need to remove the bag that's off that grain bag unloader. And so we thought about an idea. We got some pipe here and we have a digger derrick crane. Well, it's got a big drill bit on this end of it. So let's attach a pipe to it and wind it up with that digger derrick and see how well that works. Because if we can wind it up, that'd be fantastic. Otherwise, we're strapping it to a tire and flooring it. So I don't think that's a good, wise decision to do, but it could be fun. No, we better not do that. All right, well, let's chop up these metal pipes and make it work. Now, since we have 3 bags, I'm gonna cut 3 pipes, or chunks of these pipes that I wanna keep. Actually, I don't need all 3 of these pipes. I'll just use one and chop it in half. This is the tubing that came off of that rail system on that building. Well, the extra that they didn't need. And on the digger derrick, it's got a 2-inch hex shaft that's on there. And I need to pin it so that I can roll that pipe. Well, that slides over it fairly well. It doesn't really take that much. So I'll just chop a chunk off of that, weld a little bit of it on the other pipe, and then we'll use the skid steer on the other side to support it so it can just kind of roll along. In theory, this should work. We'll see. All right, let's start chopping. Easy, simple, pretty crude looking, but that's okay. Digger derrick will be on this side, skid steer will be on that side. And I should probably weld like a hook or something on it so it can kind of grab the bag. It's not gonna do a whole lot of pulling, but just so it doesn't spin on the pipe, weld a little piece of square this stuff. Had a bunch of it laying on the shelf, so I decided to weld a little bit of it on there. So yeah, I think that'll work out okay, as long as it just stops turning, and if it just chews up the plastic in a circle, well then we'll start all over again. But yeah, that'll work.